Okay, so here we are in RetinaEngrave again. We just opened it. There are three main modes that we're going to go through, which is the raster, engrave, the vector cut, and the design view. However, first and foremost, we want to make sure that our laser is communicating to our computer. And we check that down here by the little connected screen thing, or the little connected label. If it's red and not connected, you need to hit this reconnect button to refresh the connection. 9 times out of 10 that will do what you need it to do. However, if it's still not connecting, what I suggest you do is turn the machine off, turn it back on, and try reconnecting again. There might just be a hiccup between the communication of this machine and the computer. So the second thing we have to do to make sure it's set up right is to home our machine. You can see this red text down here. Red usually means stop or not good. Not home means it's not home, so we need to home the machine. The machine needs to understand where its 0, 0 is, or else it can't work from there. So to do that, we hit the little home button, and we'll actually see, I'll pan over, we'll see our machine beginning to go to the homing sequence. So it's working its way over. It will find 0, 0. When it finds 0, 0, it will stop, and then we should be all set. And we should see home down at the bottom of the screen, and it should be green. Hopefully you can see that on this recording. Okay. Now the next thing is the 3 modes of the LaserCutter. Raster engrave is where we're going to engrave and cut, burn in our images. So that has to do with raster art. Vector cut is where we're going to cut our image out, and design view is a view that allows you to actually create designs natively in RetinaEngrave software to cut. However, it's much easier and better to use vector software such as Illustrator. You have more options. It's a better design software, so we never end up using this, but it's here if you ever need it. Okay, so next we need to bring our PDF, our XPS file in. So we'll minimize this, and it's as simple as just grabbing our laser cut file, dragging it in, and it will open up our file. Okay, we'll maximize this, and we'll start by talking about the raster engrave tab. So this is the tab that's going to allow your laser cutter to go from left to right, top to bottom, and engrave everything that's black, burn everything that's black, and not burn everything that's white. So you'll see that we have our house picture, and we have a black and white house. But we did make it grayscale, so how do we kind of change that? Well, we have to add dither. Right now we have no dither, so we can create a simple dither, and you'll see automatically it starts to make a much better picture of our house. Now we also lost some lines. That's because the magenta, the yellow, the cyan isn't readable. It falls under the white instead of the black, whereas our green and our black lines stayed here. So that's something worth knowing. So we have simple dither, and we also have halftone dither. I suggest you experiment with both of them to see which one looks better for you and the type of image that you're creating. Halftone dither takes a little bit longer to set up, but if we wait a couple seconds, it should pop up. There's usually a slight difference between the two. There you go. Halftone dither is a little spottier, but you get a little more of the whole picture, but it's more grainy. So kind of up to you how you want to etch that image in. Either way, pick which one works better for your photograph. The next thing you need to know in raster mode is that you have a raster power, a raster speed, and a black and white threshold. So the black and white threshold has to do with what it's going to burn, what it's not going to burn. Kind of goes along the lines of the dither. You can play with that if you want. I almost always leave that as default. I do, however, oftentimes change the speed. When we're etching a piece of wood and we want those darks to be darker, we need to slow down our machine so that the laser cutter is on any one given point longer, so it chars that wood more. So I usually drop my speed around 60 in that range. Again, that's something worth experimenting with to see what result works best for you. Once you have all this done, you're pretty set in your raster mode. So in the next video we'll look at how to cut using the vector mode, and then we'll look at making sure our laser is set in the right place before we start cutting, and then we'll actually cut.